We have Vineeth, the chartered accountant. The no tax slab has increased to 12 lakhs.
It is not 12 lakhs, it is 12 lakhs 75,000. I had said that every budget the poor get subsidy and the rich get rebate and the middle class is just left to debate and nothing else. I think I will take back my words. A small devil in the detail, Mega. Even if your income is 12 lakhs, you have to file your income tax return.
But that's a very minimal amount, isn't it? It's just 3,000 rupees.
See, it's the way you look at 3,000 rupees. If I look at that as an opportunity, I can make that 3,000, believe me, Mega, into 60 lakh rupees after 25 years. Money saved has to become money deployed, and then that becomes money multiplied. When the government reduces tax rates, it also incentivizes real estate developers to announce new projects.
Right.
Unfortunately, the middle class and upper middle class focus so much on working for that money, they don't really apply their mind as to how my money can work for me. Whoever is making the payment has to do the TDS. In case of rent, tenant has to do the TDS. Show 3,60,000 per annum as rent and pay tax on the notional imaginary rent. One particular company said, I will claim and I will go to court if needed. And that matter reached the Supreme Court. I've already paid 18 lakhs of GST while constructing. Sir, can I not collect this 4 lakhs and adjust it against the 18 lakhs that I've already paid? The Supreme Court said it should be allowed.
Hi everyone. Today we have a very important guest looking at the new budget release. We have Vineeth, the chartered accountant, who comes with, from the family of chartered accountants and comes with a lot of knowledge and has been a prominent personality in Hyderabad in that field. Thanks for coming, Vineeth. A little bit about yourself for our new guests.
Thanks, Mega, and it's so nice to have have myself on the show, rather. It's the second time that I'm on Hyderabad Growth. It feels very nice to be here back again. So I am a chartered accountant. My name is Vineeth Suresh, and my office is in Hyderabad. We also have some presence in Bangalore, Chennai, and in Dubai. And I'm from a family of chartered accountants.
Yeah.
Mom, dad, brother, sister, grandfather was the first one in the family. And so, that's how it is. And thank you for your kind words of introduction.
Yeah. Thanks, Vineeth. So I want to quickly jump into the most spoken topic right now, right? Now, the no tax slab has increased to 12 lakhs. How does this impact real estate, especially for salaried individuals?
Mega, definitely. In the last episode that was there, when I was there on the show, I said that there's nothing in the budget for middle class. In fact, if you remember, I had actually said that every budget, there's nothing actually for the middle class.
I wanted to repeat that famous dialogue that you had said.
I remember I had said that every budget, the poor get subsidy and the rich get rebate and the middle class is just left to debate and nothing else.
Yeah.
But I can say that with this particular budget, the no tax being applicable for income up to 12 lakhs, I think I will take back my words. I will not say the same lines for this budget because, yes, it is a huge relief for the middle class. People earning 1 lakh per month will no longer have to pay tax, which is such a lovely thing for them. And coming to a small devil in the detail, Mega, it's not that there is no need to pay any tax if your income is 12 lakhs. We need to be very careful here. Please understand that slab rates are still there in the Income Tax Act. 0 to 4 lakhs is no tax. 4 to 8 lakhs is 5%, 8 lakhs to 12 lakhs is 10%. The slab rates in this budget 2025. So people are confused that, sir, on one hand they say that there's no tax for an income up to 12 lakhs, but on the other hand there are tax rates given in the same budget that my tax rate is 4 lakhs to 8 lakhs, 5% tax, 8 lakhs to 12 lakhs, 10% tax. So what is this confusion all about?
Yeah.
So let us be very clear here. Even if your income is 12 lakhs, you have to file your income tax return. It doesn't mean that you're away from the whole compliance part of income tax. You have to file your return. Okay. And there is a rebate under 87A that you have to claim. And by claiming that rebate, your tax becomes nil. So if your income is exactly 12 lakhs, your tax as per the slab rates is 60,000 rupees because 4 lakhs to 8 lakhs, 5%. That is nothing but 20,000. 8 lakhs to 12 lakhs is 4 lakhs. On that 10% is 40,000. Right. So you have to calculate your tax, file your return and claim the rebate. it doesn't mean that you're away from the clutches of the income tax, number one.
Basically, it's to keep yourself active for filing tax.
Exactly. You have to be active for filing tax. If your income is 12 lakhs, don't think that there's no need to file your taxes. That's a very important thing that people need to know. And one more additional point here is, it is not 12 lakhs. Let me sweeten it for all our listeners. First of all, a very, very warm welcome to all of them once again. And see, it is not 12 lakhs, it is 12 lakhs 75,000, because there is a standard deduction of 75,000 that is anyhow there. So if your income is 12 lakhs 75,000, standard deduction 75,000 you will claim, your income is then 12 lakhs, and then you file the income and you claim that rebate when you file your return, and then your tax becomes nil. Another important caution that all our listeners should know here is, don't think that if your income is 14 lakhs, don't think that there is no tax on 12 lakhs and that you have to pay tax only on 2 lakhs. No, it's not like that. You will have to pay tax on the entire 14 lakhs, following the slab rates of 0 to 4 lakhs nil rate, 4 to 8 lakhs 5%, 8 to 12 lakhs 10%, 12 to 16 lakhs 15%. So please understand, the minute your income crosses 12 lakhs 75,000, you are back to the grind of paying tax as usual, and the whole relief is only as long as it doesn't exceed 12 lakhs 75,000. Let's be very clear about that.
Got it. So I think now people will say, oh, maybe the appraisal can hold.
People who are earning 1 lakh per month wouldn't want an appraisal. Yeah, for sure.
So Vineeth, tell me, what is the reduction that's been made for housing loans, and how does it impact buyers, home buyers particularly, in Hyderabad?
Megha, so on 7th February 2025, the Reserve Bank of India announced a reduction in the repo rate by 25 basis points, which means a 0.25% reduction in your housing loan interest. So if you had borrowed a housing loan at an interest rate of say 7%, it is now 6.75%. Now, by giving such kind of a reduction in the repo rate, let us understand that this has happened for the first time in many years. This has not happened in the past. And why has this happened? I think my personal opinion is because if you see in 2025, since Jan, the retail inflation has just been at around 4.31%, which is why the government could afford to give a reduction in the repo rate. So yes, there has been a reduction in the interest rate for housing loan that has been announced. So people can make use of this. Your EMIs will become cheaper. And yes, it will incentivize home buyers to go in for housing loans.
Suppose I've already taken a loan in the past. How do I reduce the interest rate on that?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question. Our listeners should know that if you have a housing loan, if you already have a housing loan that you borrowed for your house, you can still make use of this. So see, there are two types of borrowings, Megha. One is an MCLR linked loan and the other is an EBR rate linked loan. So if yours is an MCLR linked loan product, which was I think prior to 2019, you will have to formally write a letter to the bank and request them to reduce the housing loan interest rate on an already running loan. If it is an EBR linked housing loan, then it is an automatic process and the bank is automatically supposed to reduce the interest rate on your housing loan. But be that as it may, as a home loan, as a person who has availed a home loan, it is always wise to go communicate with your banker, write a letter and request them to reduce the rate of interest on the housing loan. And in case you face some difficulty with the bank, they are not reducing the housing loan interest rate for whatever may be the reason, you can look at options like transferring your loan, like a refinance, like move from XYZ bank to another ABC bank. So ABC bank takes over that housing loan of yours from XYZ bank at a lower rate of interest so that you reduce your monthly EMIs.
So when just to make it simpler for our audience, if you could give an example of how one could, has already taken a loan and how they can reduce it in a practical sense.
Say for example, Megha, let's make it very simple for our listeners. Say in the year 2021, in the month of January, you have taken a loan of 2 crores to buy a house, right? Now, after 3 years, and let us say the tenure of the loan is 25 years. So, Jan 21, you've taken a loan of 2 crores for a period of 25 years. Now, in 2025 Jan, 4 years are over, and you come to know in the month of February that the repo rate, the housing loan interest rate has been reduced. Say you borrowed it at 7%, and now it has come down to say 6.75%. So what is the monetary gain for you in terms of saving in your EMI if you look at? It will hardly be around 3,200, 3,150 rupees per month will be your saving in the EMI. So I'm just repeating, if you have taken a loan of 2 crores in the month of January in the year 2021 for a period of 25 years, and today because of the rate cut, your saving in your monthly EMI would be 3,100 or 3,200 rupees per month.
But
If
that's
the interest rate is 7% and now it's come down to 6.5%,
Right.
6.75%. Yeah.
But that's a very minimal amount, isn't it? It's just 3,000 rupees.
See, it's the way you look at 3,000 rupees. If you don't look at 3,000 rupees as an opportunity to make something big, you will only save 9,50,000 rupees during the entire lifetime of your loan of 25 years.
You're saying there's an opportunity to make that 9 lakhs into something else?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying you can make 3,000 into something big. Just look at this, Megha. My EMI has reduced every month by 3,000 rupees. And if I don't do anything about it, I end up making only 9.5 lakhs in the next 25 years, which is nothing.
Yeah.
But if I look at that 3,000 rupees, not as a pittance, as a mere small amount of saving, but if I look at that as an opportunity, I can make that 3,000, believe me, Megha, into 60 lakh rupees after 25 years.
60 lakhs?
Yes.
How is that
It's
possible?
very simple. Call your bank manager, tell him that my EMI is reduced by 3,000. So instead of auto debiting my entire EMI of whatever, say your EMI is 20,000, but now it's how much? 17,000 because you saved that 3,200 or whatever. So your auto debit of EMI is only going to be 17,000. And the remaining 3,000, you put it in a monthly SIP, systematic investment plan with the same banker. And mutual funds, even if you get a CAGR of 12%, in the next 25 years, this 3,000 rupees that you saved and put in that SIP will give you 60 lakh. For a person who is going to office, who has a family of 2 children or 1 child, whatever it is, just imagine a person who is just 30 years of age today and he's able to save that 3,000. At the age of 55, he will have 60 lakh rupees to give his children or whatever he needs to give it for.
So
Can you imagine the
basically-
power of compounding?
So basically, it's 0 to 60 lakhs.
Yeah, do absolutely nothing and get 60 lakh after 25 years.
With the reduced tax liability, people who earn up to 50 lakhs, where do you see the investment going towards? Real estate, commercial, housing? What do you think?
Megha, see, let me tell you one thing. Tax saving is not the only reason why a person will invest in real estate. It can be one of the reasons.
Right.
There are various reasons that one will look at before investing into real estate, which is a wide range of factors like the growth prospects, appreciation, market factors, etc. So my answer is going to be purely from a tax saving perspective, right? But in no way does it mean that tax saving alone will trigger any investment in real estate. And it shouldn't be like that as well. So say today if I'm earning 50 lakh rupees, because of the new changes in the tax rates in the budget 2025, I am saving a tax of around 1,10,000 plus every year. Now 1,10,000 is nothing, it's hardly around 8 to 10,000 per month.
Right.
So let us not say that merely because of change in tax rates, a person earning 50 lakh per month will make certain huge decisions to invest in real estate. But yes, 1,10,000 plus whatever he's saving every year, which translates to roughly about 10,000 per month, will definitely incentivize him to take that step to invest in real estate. Say he's already been thinking of investing. This will give him that additional motivation that yes, let's go ahead. Let's do it. In addition, as I had told you in our last episode that I was there in the last show, there is a nice product called REIT, Real Estate Investment
You
Trust.
mentioned this last time.
Yes. So this is like investing in mutual funds, but actually you're investing in a real estate investment trust. You will get units similar to mutual fund. And these trusts again invest that money in lakhs and lakhs of square feet of real estate space. So depending upon the risk appetite, each person, depending upon how much he's able to save on his taxes, will definitely have that additional motivation to definitely invest in real estate. Because money saved is money earned is the old theory now.
Yeah.
Money saved has to become money deployed. And then that becomes money multiplied. And therefore, if the government says that if you're earning 50 lakhs, my friend, take 1,10,000 of tax saving, it is up to you how you make that 1,10,000 of money saved into money deployed, and only then you have money multiplied. So money saved is money earned is the old mantra. Now the new mantra is money saved should become money deployed, and then it becomes money multiplied.
And I think this is going to be the dialogue for this episode. I think you have one for every end zone. And I think that's one thing I'll be waiting for every time I meet you.
No, that's how, I mean, I'm sure our listeners are also able to take it in the right way that,
Yeah.
tax saving is not just sufficient these days. You'll have to deploy that in the right way. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. People in Hyderabad, because of this tax benefit, middle class, upper middle class, and the upper class will definitely have that extra buck with them, which is saved. And it's up to them to come out,
And how they
deploy
deploy
it, and multiply it.
Vineeth, as you know, west of Hyderabad has been the dominant market in terms of real estate growth, right? And with this tax benefits and lower borrowing costs, what do you think will happen in the next 5 years?
It's very tough to predict because there are a variety of other factors that I had mentioned. But yeah, you're right. The west of Hyderabad has always been the go-to destination for most of our home buyers, because if you look at the number of projects that are coming that part of the city, it's quite a lot. So I would say that yes, home loans becoming cheaper and tax savings becoming higher will definitely drive the housing and the other commercial opportunities as well in that part of Hyderabad. Because as they say, and they say even today, that if you work for money, right? But it's also important that your money works for you. So people need to realize that. And as I said earlier as well, please ensure that whatever money you save is also deployed at the right place at the right time. Take well thought out and well considered decisions. Yes, the west of Hyderabad is a very, very lucrative option, given the fact that there are higher tax savings and cheaper housing loans.
Okay, so you don't feel it's at all, it's already reached its peak. There's still opportunity out there.
See, I'll tell you, Megha, it's very difficult for anyone to say that this is the highest point. I'll tell you my personal example. In 2015, when my friends had bought property in Dubai, someone had told them that you're making a mistake. These are the highest prices the property in Dubai can ever go. You're making a big mistake. In 2020, compared to 2015, the property prices had skyrocketed even further. And then they had said in 2020 that you're doing the same mistake. You're investing it, it won't go higher than this. As recent as 2023, they said property prices in Dubai have gone to the next level and you can't invest beyond this. Don't go, it'll just fall. And let me tell you, for the past 1.5, 2 years, the prices have just been increasing. So yes, in a city like Hyderabad, in a place like West Hyderabad, you may experience stagnancy, as in you may see the number of new projects happening may reduce because of certain market factors, but with the boost that has been given. Please understand, when the government reduces tax rates, it also incentivizes real estate developers to announce new projects.
Right.
If I'm a real estate man and I have to do a project and I come to know that the government has reduced housing loan rate of interest and it has increased the saving in tax, I will know that the people living there will have more disposable income and I will announce more projects. So please understand, there will never be a situation, as far as I am concerned, to say that this is the highest ever, at least in West Hyderabad.
Right.
At least in West Hyderabad. I'm not talking of areas like Begumpet, Banajara Hills or Jubilee
Right,
Hills.
yeah.
I'm talking of the west of Hyderabad, where the potential is still, I feel, unexplored. Yes, there is a stagnancy. There's no fall. But there is huge scope. And in my view, I may be wrong, please don't hold me against this. The second half of this year, you will start witnessing a lot of traction.
So do you feel, with what you said, the unsold units, the number will come down with this?
What I would like to say here is, as I told you, because of the increase in tax savings and the reduction in housing loan rates, there will definitely be a push. There will definitely be some kind of a, growth in the west of Hyderabad, for sure. But as I gave you the example, we never know when you actually reach that point. As I gave you the example of property rates in Dubai, they never came down, though they were saying that it's reached the highest point. Coming to unsold inventories, it's a different ballgame altogether, because that is a question of demand and supply. Now, what happens whenever there seems to be a potential in a particular area, the number of builders that go and come in that particular area determines the demand and supply.
Okay.
Today in west of Hyderabad, as you can see, there is so much of unsold inventory,
Right.
not because of there's no demand or there's a dearth of demand. It's because the supply is so much more than what the demand is.
Okay.
That's when the market takes its own course. There is a stagnancy. Number of new projects coming will reduce. And then as the unsold inventory gets momentum, starts selling out, then you have new projects coming in.
Right.
So it's a very interesting correlation you can make between farmers in the agricultural sector and builders in the real estate sector. The mentality and the psychology sometimes is so similar. For example, in Telangana a few years back, when somebody said that tomatoes are going to be sold for a very high price, every farmer started cultivating just tomatoes. And because of that, the prices fell very badly. So what happened there? Does it mean that people stopped eating tomatoes?
No.
They didn't, right? But why did the prices fall? It's because of the way the people... Yeah, exactly. So that is exactly what is happening in the west of Hyderabad.
But do you think the demand will increase because of
Yes,
the new budget?
It will. But tell me, now that you and me know that tax savings have increased and housing loan has become cheaper, it will drive up the demand and people will start buying units in west of Hyderabad. Okay. But do you think the builders will keep quiet? They will also announce new projects. They will also increase the supply. So therefore, the market somehow finds balance by itself. Okay. And what people need to know is, if you have disposable income, go to the west of Hyderabad, invest there, wait, and you will definitely find that, that benefit, your money multiplying. Because please understand, your money is something that also should work for you. Unfortunately, the middle class and upper middle class focus so much on working for that money. But once they make that money, they don't really apply their mind as to how my money can work for me. And therefore, that is where I feel people really need to take well-considered decisions, and they will definitely see that west of Hyderabad will not let them down. In my opinion, it has not reached its peak. There is much more potential in the west of Hyderabad. I'm not talking about areas like Banajara Hills, Begumpet, Jubilee Hills. I'm talking about the west of Hyderabad in particular.
So when you say Banajara Hills, Jubilee Hills, do you feel that it's reached its peak?
Yes, because there is no inventory available. There is no land. There's no space to announce new projects, except for certain pockets here and there.
Right.
And even the ones that are announced, it's so expensive, it's beyond the reach of the middle class and upper middle class, who I am trying to target in through your video to tell them that they should make their money work for them.
How do you change that mindset? How does an individual who comes from a middle class family, works really hard, how does a person change their mindset towards this?
See, I'll tell you, it's not that simple. See, when you look at real estate as such, I'm a middle class, I'm an upper middle class software employee who earns about 1.5 lakh per month. Now, I know that I don't have to pay any income tax and I save X amount of money. But of course, I feel much more secure putting my money in mutual fund. In your last video, I had mentioned about putting money in gold. And if you recollect, I would like to congratulate Hyderabad Growth that in my last video, we had done a session about...
We reached over 1 million videos for that, reviews for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and we said whether to go for gold or real estate. I remember I had said there was reduction in customs duty of gold, and I had encouraged listeners to go buy gold, hold it for 2 years, and then go and buy their houses.
Right.
And at that time, when we said that mega, gold rate was 63,000. Today, that same gold rate 24 carat is 87,000. And it's not even been a year, I think hardly 6 to 7 months.
That's right.
So when you're surrounded by uncertainties, a middle class, upper middle class employee will prefer mutual funds and gold, for sure. But if he invests in real estate in the west of Hyderabad, he may have to wait longer. He has to wait for more period of time. But yes, he will definitely witness that growth in his investment.
Okay, so the wait is worth it.
The wait is worth it, and he has to identify projects, do a due diligence, go to reputed builders only, and various other things. And I think all of us know by now, enter when the project is under construction. I would not encourage any middle class or upper middle class person to invest in a project that is nearing completion, or it's in the stage of, in the middle stages of its construction. Go early so that you reap the benefits of your launch price, pre-launch price, etc., etc.
Got it. Okay, makes sense. So, Vineeth, what is SWAMIH Fund and what impact does it have on real estate? 15,000 crores has been allocated to it.
Yeah, see, this is not the first time, Megha. SWAMIH Fund has happened in the past also. This is the second time that they're doing it.
Okay, when did it happen last?
It happened in 2024, the last year itself.
Okay.
And that had helped in completion of units. Now, what is SWAMIH Fund is? It is a special window. The full form of SWAMIH, SWAMIH, is special window for affordable and middle income housing. Right? Okay. So this is targeted towards affordable and middle income housing projects only. Okay. So there are a number of projects which have been stalled due to a number of reasons, financial constraints, etc., etc. So the target of this government is to allocate 15,000 crore financial assistance so that you can complete close to 1 lakh units of stalled housing project is what they have targeted. Okay. In the past, around 40 to 50,000 units have been benefited and got completion as well because of this fund. But if you ask me what's the benefit of this for Hyderabad, it's still early days because I do not know, how much out of 15,000 crores is earmarked for Hyderabad is still not clear.
So, what is the Urban Challenge Fund?
See, Urban Challenge Fund is yet another initiative of the government to boost the real estate sector, Mega. Let me tell you, the total allocation under this scheme is 1 lakh crore. 1 lakh crore. But what is the idea here? The idea here is to support bankable projects. You can say this is an exact opposite of the SWAMIH Fund.
Okay.
So here the challenge, why is it called an urban challenge fund? Is because here the government is saying, look, I am ready here to bankroll a bankable real estate project. Up
What's
to
a bankable
25%.
real estate project?
Due diligence. It's their track record, whether they have all their approvals in place. And they have very clearly mentioned that they will support 25% of the cost only.
Okay.
Under the urban challenge scheme, they will support 25% of your project, and they also want 50% of the project to be funded by banks, bonds, or public private partnerships. If 50% of your project is being financed by banks, institutions, and various financial instruments, it means that your project is a bankable one. It has been reviewed by various agencies. For such projects, the government steps in and says, I will finance 25%, thereby giving that additional thrift, liquidity, and speed of completion for those projects. And you asked me what's in it for Hyderabad. Recently, the Union Minister, G. Kishan Reddy, he made an announcement that out of 1 lakh crore of the Urban Challenge Fund, 10,000 crore has been announced for Hyderabad in particular, like for Hyderabad exclusively.
So that also means since that much fund is coming into Hyderabad, Hyderabad as a city has been recognized overall in India in terms of
Yeah, see, again, I will not be too optimistic that just because 10,000 crore is coming to Hyderabad, go buy property in Hyderabad, property prices will increase. I will not say like that. Because please understand, there are two keywords. One is outlay and one is outcome. The biggest mistake all of us make for any government announcement, any budget, any scheme here, I may sound a bit pessimistic, but that is the fact. We focus only on the outlay. 10,000 crore is announced, 1 lakh crore is announced, 50,000 crore is announced. This is all outlay. What about the outcome? The outlay needs to get deployed in the right place. The benefits have to be seen, and then we look at the outcome. So, what we are discussing today, Mega, is outlay. What is going to be the outcome of all this? We cannot predict. But yes, there is an overall positive sentiment towards real estate because of all these initiatives. If you ask me, yes. Because of this initiative, should we go and buy property in Hyderabad because it will increase tomorrow because of this announcement? I will say no. I would say wait and watch, but overall the sentiment is very positive.
And because of this, do you feel that a lot of investors out of Hyderabad are going to come to Hyderabad investment? When I say out of Hyderabad, I mean Bangalore, Bombay, all these guys.
See, Hyderabad has always been a prime destination for people outside Hyderabad to come and invest. There is no doubt about that. These initiatives will, by the time they hit the ground, it may take easily another 6 to 12 months where you start seeing the speed of completion and work happening. Once that happens, the rejuvenation of the investor interest will happen. And of course, funds and investors will start flowing into Hyderabad, which is where I said, we need to wait and watch for the next 6 to 12 months. But yeah, the start is good. So these announcements definitely give a very positive push and prospect for Hyderabad real estate.
Seems positive for the future looks bright, is what you think.
Yes, of course. Yeah. But because of that, you want to do something right now? I would not say that, but I would say take well-considered decision.
Vineeth, we've covered a lot of topics, but I think it'll be a long conversation because there's a lot more to cover. Now I want to touch base with what is asset monetization plan.
See, the government of India has realized that there are a lot of assets which belong to the government of India, which are really not generating returns. This can be either in the form of real estate, lands, old buildings, old infrastructure related projects, which are all owned by the government. They have a certain value, but they're not yielding any returns. It's like I have 25 acres of land somewhere in the village, but there's absolutely nothing coming out of it. So I decide to use that 25 acre of land to build a commercial complex in Hyderabad. So that is my thought process.
So the government will give it to...
The government is also thinking on the same lines. Okay. So what I am saying, let's take my example. Say for example, I have 25 acres in my village. I decided that I'm not doing any agriculture. I'm not getting any returns out of that.
And you're government.
And I'm government. And I want to monetize it. So what do I mean by monetize? I will take that land and I will sell it. Whatever money I get out of that, I will use that to start new infrastructure projects, but I won't do it on my own. I will use that money to fund infrastructure projects, public-private partnerships, or I may myself start new projects like your highways, your roadways, your metros, your whatever. And let me tell you, Megha, this is not a small amount. The government's target is to do monetization of such assets to the tune of 10 lakh crores. So the idea here is to bring money into infrastructure, bring money into your whole urban redevelopment, so that the minute you see these projects happening, automatically the real estate surrounding those areas will witness a lot of traction. I don't have to tell you about what the ORR has done to land in Hyderabad. Right? So asset monetization is something, again, a very good initiative to monetize assets and infuse that 10 lakh crore in infrastructure projects throughout the country. But again, out of this, how much has been allocated to Hyderabad is not yet notified.
Okay.
It's not yet clear. So we will have to wait for that. But will this result in benefit for the real estate sector? Of course, because the more infrastructure you have around that real estate will automatically have that much more prospect and traction.
Growth as well
Yeah,
for
of
that
course.
area.
Of course.
Got it. So Vineeth, I've heard that, there's something called as interest-free loan that the government is giving to states. What is this about?
See, the government has announced that they will give interest-free loan to states, interest-free, to the extent of 1.5 lakh crores, right? And this is for a period of 50 years interest-free. And this is purely to support infrastructure development. So you can see how much of a thrust has been given to infrastructure development, and this will definitely have a positive impact on real estate across the country. Coming to Hyderabad specifically, Megha, let me tell you, our government has already, the Telangana state government has already made a request to the government of India for funding of 1.63 lakh crores.
Which is more than the budget.
Which is more than what they've announced. See, they've asked specifically for three things. So we need to watch out for these three things. One is your regional ring road.
Right.
One is your expansion of your Hyderabad Metro Rail. Please understand, I think in the month of January this year, there was an announcement that the Metro Rail, I think January last year, that the Metro Rail will be extended from the city right up to, Shamirpet, right up to Shadnagar, these parts of the state. So just imagine you can take a metro and go all the way to Shadnagar or all the way to Shamirpet. You see what impact that's going to have. So that is the second thing you need to watch out, your metro rail expansion. And the third thing what they've asked for is your Musi River development, right? So these three are the main infrastructure projects of our city, Hyderabad, under our Telangana state, for which funding has been sought from the government of India. Now, out of this 1.5 lakh crore, if a major chunk or a good portion of the amount is sanctioned to Telangana, and if the state decides to deploy them for these three things, watch out for these three projects once again: regional ring road, metro rail expansion, and your Musi redevelopment, the river development. So anything around these areas, once they are announced, is a good area to go and invest, is my personal opinion.
Okay, so you can go a little further out of Hyderabad.
Yes.
Where it can be more in budget, but is not really very far because the metro connection is there.
Exactly. See, that's why, the entire one city like Hyderabad, if it is unaffordable for many of our listeners, they can probably look at places like Shadnagar, Jadcherla, Mehboob that part of the state, because that is an area where there has been a clear announcement. See, that's also the airport road, isn't it?
Right.
So there have been announcement that metro will go right up to Shadnagar, etc., and also understand that the chief minister's constituency is also somewhere towards that side.
Yes.
The road to Bangalore also is the same road.
Yeah.
So that is an evergreen area of investment for a person in Hyderabad at all times. That is my personal opinion.
The entire highway.
Yeah, because Hyderabad Bangalore is an evergreen highway.
Right.
Airport is there.
Yes.
And therefore, and even if the metro comes, so just imagine what would happen. Similarly, a corridor was announced right from your Paradise, in Secunderabad up to Shamirpet. A corridor, elevated corridor expressway has been announced. So people need to have a look at the infrastructure plans of the state and make their investments accordingly.
Right. That's something apart from the regular checklist
Yeah.
of buying a property. This is something, get the bigger picture.
Exactly, yeah. Correct.
Coming to another subject of things, what is the threshold on TDS for rentals? a lot of people have. I think a lot of people are a little confused about what it is and what does it mean for house owners and people who are renting it.
It's very simple, Megha. There's no complication as far as TDS on rent is concerned. Please understand, in rent there are two parties, landlord and tenant. Who pays the rent to whom? Tenant pays the rent to landlord. Let us be very clear. Who has to do the TDS? Please remember, it's a golden rule. Whoever is making the payment has to do the TDS.
Okay.
Right? That
Right.
means in case of rent, tenant is paying to the landlord.
Yeah.
So who has to do the TDS?
The
Person who is making the payment.
Right.
Who's making the payment?
Tenant.
Tenant is making the payment. So tenant has to do the TDS. That is something which you should understand. What is the meaning of TDS? Tax deducted at source. That is the full form. Now, earlier the government had a provision which would say that if you're paying rent in excess of 2,40,000 rupees per year, which is nothing but more than 20,000 rupees per month, you have to deduct TDS. Okay, let us be very clear. So if I am a tenant and I am making payment of rent to the landlord, I have to do TDS. That means I have to deduct and pay that person. If I would pay more than 20,000 rupees per month, I have to follow this rule called TDS. I have to deduct this amount called TDS and pay the balance. Right? Now, in this budget, that 20,000 per month has now become 50,000 per month, the limit, which means that only if I pay a rent of more than 50,000 rupees per month, I have to do this process called TDS. Okay? So this is a huge relief for tenants and for landlord because the whole compliance of having to do TDS is greatly reduced. Right? So now, what is the compliance that comes with TDS? I'll come to that. But let us focus on the moot point. Moot point is, if you are paying rent of more than 50,000 per month for your property, only then you have to do TDS. If it is 50,000 rupees or less than 50,000 rupees, the tenant need not deduct tax at source, which is a big relief for the tenant as well and for the landlord also, because the landlord will now get the full rent without any deduction.
Right. Yeah.
Right? If that part is clear, we can go to the next part about rate of TDS. Right? Coming to the rate of TDS. How much should I deduct is the question. So there is a section called 194I. Right? As per this section, you have to do a TDS of 10%.
Okay.
Which means if I am a tenant and I am paying a rent of 50,000 rupees per month, how much TDS I have to deduct? 0. Please remember, TDS will come only if it is more than 50,000.
Got it.
I request all the listeners to be awake. Yeah. So if I pay more than 50,000 only, I have to do TDS. Okay.
Yeah.
So if my rent is 50,000 per month, I am the tenant. I'll give entire 50,000 to the landlord. No need of TDS. Job is simple. But if say for example, the rent is 60,000 per month. As a tenant, I am supposed to deduct 10% TDS. That means I will deduct 6,000 and pay the remaining 54,000 rupees to the landlord, and the balance 6,000 rupees called TDS, I have to remit it to the government. This is the compliance as far as the rate of TDS is concerned. Now, very important point, Megha, which many of our listeners need to know. Please understand, who the tenant is also determines the rate of TDS.
Okay. What does that mean?
That means, say for example, I am an individual and I have a business of my own and I am subject to something called tax audit. That means, as an individual, if I am doing business and my business turnover is more than 1 crore and I am having to follow something called as tax audit, then the rate of TDS on the rent that I pay is 10%. But in our listeners, there will be a lot of people who are not covered under tax audit. They may be salaried employees.
Yeah.
They may not have any business or any tax audit applicable to them under the Income Tax Act. They may be software employees who are salaried class. Now I am talking about the salaried class.
Right.
If a salaried class tenant is paying rent, right, he will have to do TDS only when it is more than 50,000 rupees per month for his house. But the rate of TDS is not 10% for a salaried individual or a non-business earning individual or an individual who does not have any business activity. He is just an employee. In that case, please understand the TDS rate was 5% and after 1st October 2024, it is just 2%. So let me summarize TDS for all our listeners, and I'm presuming my listeners are all tenants, right? Then I'll go to my listeners who are landlords. So all my listeners who are tenants, please note that your TDS you will have to do only if your rent is more than 50,000 rupees per month, and the rate of TDS is only 2% if you are a salaried employee.
Okay.
Yeah, provided it is more than 50,000. So if I'm paying a rent of 60,000, I will do a TDS of 2%. 2% of 60,000 is how much? It is 1200 rupees only.
Okay.
When does the TDS become 10%? TDS is 10% if my listener is a tenant who is doing business and is subject to tax audit under the Income Tax Act.
Good.
If my listener is not doing any business activity, he is just a salaried employee, his TDS rate is only 2%. But please remember, the TDS will arise only and only if your rent per month is more than 50,000 per month.
Got it. And coming to landlords?
Coming to landlords, please understand, if your tenant is doing a 10% TDS, in that case, he will have to file his TDS return. As a landlord, I have to make sure that he files the TDS return. Only then I will get the TDS credit. Please understand, if your tenant is doing 10% TDS, instead of paying 60,000, he is paying only 54,000. That 6,000 rupees, he has to file his TDS return. So he needs to have a TAN number. Just like we have PAN number, he should have a TAN number. So before you give it out on rent to a tenant who is supposed to do TDS of 10% because of the fact that he is doing business and is subject to audit under Income Tax Act, as a landlord, I will ask him, do you have a TAN number? You are doing 10% TDS. Will you file the TDS returns on time? Only then I will get credit of that 10%, which is 6,000 rupees per month of TDS in my example. Okay. And as a landlord, if your tenant is subject to the 2% rate of TDS, which is if your tenant is salaried class, then how much TDS he has to do? 2%. Say my rent is 60,000. As a landlord, I know that he is going to deduct 2%, which is 1,200 rupees per month. In this case, as a landlord, please note, you don't ask him if he has a TAN number. The Income Tax Act has said for 2% TDS, tenant need not have a TAN number. He just has to pay the challan. That 1,200 rupees of TDS, he has to pay via a challan called 26QC. And once the challan is uploaded, your credit will be reflected. So for all my listeners who are landlords, please check if your tenant has to do TDS. Check whether the rent is more than 50,000 or not. If it is more than 50,000 only, you tell the tenant to do the TDS. Otherwise, tell the tenant don't do TDS, it is not applicable. Next, check whether he is supposed to do 10% TDS or 2%. If he is doing 10% TDS, he should have a TAN number. If he is doing 2% TDS, no need of TAN number. This is what I want to tell all my listeners who are landlords.
So, Vineeth, pardon me if I'm asking this wrong. I read that this 2 houses self-occupied is allowed. So that is something I wanted to throw light on.
No, that it's not like that, Megha. It is, I'll tell you, this is a recent change in the 2025 budget. See, earlier, you were allowed to have only one self-occupied house, which is rent-free. As in...
Basically, the house that you're living in.
Basically, see, if you're living in a house, that is a self-occupied house.
Right.
Will you pay rent?
No.
You'll not pay rent.
Yeah.
Will you earn rent?
No.
So it is a house on which there is neither rent that you're paying nor any rent that you're earning. So the law allows you to claim interest on housing loan on such self-occupied property to the extent of 2 lakhs per annum. This is the maximum. Okay. So this is what was always there.
Just another question while you're saying this. A self-occupied house, say I'm living on the ground floor. I've rented out the first floor. How does that work?
So the ground floor is a self-occupied unit. First floor is a let-out unit. So on that, you will have to pay tax on whatever rent you are earning.
How do you say that I've rented that out? The entire property is mine because it's an independent house.
So it's an independent house, but as far as letting out, the act of letting out, even a portion of it, ensures and makes that property not a self-occupied property. Self-occupied property itself means only you are the person who is occupying that particular property.
Got it.
It is your duty to reveal the fact that you're letting out a portion of that property, disclose that rent and file your return. That is a legal requirement.
The
Now,
only way to disclose is filing the return.
that's it.
Okay.
And if he's paying more than 50,000, you have to do TDS. No, that's what it will come out. Even if you don't disclose, it will come out.
Got it.
So, two self-occupied properties, when will this arise? Just think about it. Why will an individual want to have two self-occupied properties? Now, it is possible that he is having to work in two different cities continuously. So, he is having a house, say, in Bangalore and in Hyderabad. It is possible that he already has a self-occupied property which he has inherited from his parents, grandparents, and now he is constructing another self-occupied property somewhere in the outskirts or in the suburbs where he wants to go and stay. So please understand, earlier the law was one self-occupied property, there is no problem. You will neither pay rent nor you will earn rent, but you can claim deduction on the interest of housing loan, whatever you are paying to the bank, right? If I have another self-occupied property other than the self-occupied property where I am living, you will not believe it, Megha, I was supposed to pay tax on notional rent.
What does that mean?
That means I have a house, say, in Jubilee Hills and I am staying there. No problem, as far as that house is concerned. Say I have another house in, say, Amirpet or in Kokapet or somewhere in Hyderabad. That is also my property, but that is not given on rent. That is also a self-occupied property only, correct? The law says that for that self-occupied property, you have to pay tax on notional rent. That means in that area, what is the rent? 30,000 per month? Okay. You have a house there? Okay. Is it self-occupied? Doesn't matter. Show 30,000 rupees per month as rent. Show 3,60,000 per annum as rent and pay tax on the notional imaginary rent.
Okay.
Which you never earned.
Yeah.
Why do I have to do that? Because I already have a self-occupied house in Jubilee Hills. If I have another self-occupied house somewhere else, it is my duty to disclose that and pay tax on notional rent.
Okay.
Why would the government want me to do that? To incentivize letting out, to incentivize and motivate me to give it on rent.
Okay.
In this budget, the new change is that you are allowed to have two self-occupied properties, which means that house which I have in either Amirpet or Kokapet, on which I had to disclose that notional imaginary rent of 30,000 rupees per month and pay tax on that, that is no longer needed.
Okay.
I am relaxed, I am exempted from paying the tax on that notional rent, which is my second self-occupied
What
property.
happens if you have three?
If I have three, I still have to pay tax on the notional rent on the third one.
property.
Exemption is only for two.
Got it.
And let us not be very smart here and say that I have a loan on that property in Kokapet or Amirpet. I can claim that interest also as a deduction. No, sir. The maximum is 2 lakhs for both the houses.
Or together?
Yeah. So if I have a housing loan on my self-occupied property in Jubilee Hills and my interest, what I'm paying every year is 2 lakhs, I am claiming that deduction of 2 lakhs. Tomorrow, if I say that I have a loan on that house which is there in Kokapet or Amirpet and there is an interest on housing loan on that, can I take another 2 lakhs as a deduction for that second self-occupied property? Answer is no. The overall limit still remains at 2 lakhs. But you are exempted from paying that tax on that notional rent on that second house.
Got it.
This is the change made.
Okay. I think there's a lot of clarity that you've given us. And we do have a lot of tenants in Hyderabad, right? So I think it's very, very important. And you have a lot of landowners as well.
Correct.
The last topic that I want to cover, is there any changes made to GST policy as such?
So GST, actually, the input tax credit is a major issue here. As far as GST is concerned, nothing positive for the construction industry, I would say. But yes, please note that there is a judgment of the Supreme Court called Safari Retreats. It will be of good knowledge to the listeners if they are willing to, understand what exactly happened in this judgment. In this judgment, the Supreme Court said that people who are constructing buildings which have to be given out on lease, say I'm constructing a convention center, a marriage convention center, or a commercial complex, right? Whatever GST I pay during construction of that property, the government, the Supreme Court said that I can use that input tax credit against the GST that I collect on my rent. Please understand, let me make it very simple so that instead of going into too much of technical language, earlier position of law, what it was, after GST came in 2017, say I am constructing a building worth 1 crore, okay, which I want to give it on what? Rent. Let us be very clear, ultimate objective is to give it on rent only. I am constructing a building worth 1 crore and I want to give it on rent. Say the monthly rent of that building is 2 lakhs per month.
This is commercial again.
Commercial. Yes, commercial. I am giving that on rent for say 2 lakhs per month. Example, 2 lakhs per month plus GST 18%. So I am collecting rent of 2 lakhs plus GST of 36,000, 2 lakh 36,000. Now when I constructed my property for 1 crore of rupees, while constructing I would have also purchased lot of cement, steel, etc., on which I have to pay GST also. So if I have constructed something for 1 crore, I will not just pay 1 crore, no, I will pay 1 crore plus GST also, because I am buying cement, I am buying steel, I am buying lot of things. Let us say 18% is the GST. So on 1 crore, what is the GST? 18 lakhs. So that means how much I have spent from my pocket for that building is 1 crore 18 lakhs. So straight away, my budget for construction increased by 18% than what I initially thought, simply because of this tax called GST. So how much have I spent on the building? 1 crore 18 lakhs. And how much rent am I collecting from my tenant? 2 lakhs plus GST, which is 36,000 every month. Now, for the entire year of 12 months, if you observe, I am collecting 36,000 per month of GST. How much that comes to? 36,000 into 12, which is around, you can say, 3 lakh 60 plus 72,000, which is around 4 lakh 20, 4 lakh 30,000 amount of GST that I am collecting every year. Now, I want to ask the government, sir, I have paid 18 lakhs of GST from my pocket while constructing this building. Tomorrow, I am collecting 4 lakhs worth of GST from my tenant every year. I have already paid 18 lakhs of GST while constructing. Sir, can I not collect this 4 lakhs and adjust it against the 18 lakhs that I have already paid? You get my point? That is called input tax credit.
Okay.
The government in the GST law since 2017 did not allow this, which means whatever 4 lakhs per annum GST I am collecting, I have to pay it to the government. Even though I have already paid 18 lakhs GST to the government during my construction. So 18 lakhs is my cost, plus this 4 lakhs what I am collecting on the rent also goes to the government. So lot of people who are in the line of building commercial complexes, giving it out on rent, they all thought that this is unfair. I mean, when you say GST is a tax which is citizen friendly, which will stop the cascading effect, and input tax credit. What is input tax credit? It is this, allowing me to offset the 4 lakhs against that 18 lakhs that I have already paid. That is input tax credit. But for construction sector, it was not permitted under law. So there is a case law that happened. There is an issue that happened. One particular company said, I will claim and I will go to court if needed. And that matter reached the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court, the judgment name is Safari Retreats. Very, very interesting for our listeners. If they want to read up on that, the Supreme Court said it should be allowed. Because the builder has already paid 18 lakhs on that 1 crore. So allow him to offset that 4 lakhs against this 18 lakhs. That was the judgment of the Supreme Court. Now what has the government done? The government, using its executive power, in the last GST Council meeting, they passed a retrospective amendment saying that you cannot claim this input, nullifying the Supreme Court judgment. So the positive sentiment that was created in the construction sector after the Supreme Court judgment has been nullified by executive action of the Government of India, which has said we are amending this law retrospectively and overruling this particular judgment of the Supreme Court, which I feel is quite unfortunate, because today, if a builder says that I want to construct a commercial complex or a convention center for 10 crores or 15 crores, please understand his budget is not going to be 10 crores or 15 crores plus 18% straight away. So what does this do? This will again force him to increase rent, because he has to recover that 18% also, whatever he is incurring at the time of construction. So he will increase rent. Ultimately, who will pay that rent? It is the end user. So the burden ultimately shifts to the end user. So this is something which the listeners need to know. And as far as GST is concerned, this is the change. This is the unfortunate development. However, it really will not impact construction industry in a very big way, because right from beginning the position was like this. It's only when somebody challenged, went to the Supreme Court, got a relief, that we thought that there will be some kind of a relief. It was always like this from beginning.
Okay. So there's no change, but there was hope in between. You'd say.
Exactly. There was always GST, then there was hope, and now there's again GST.
Right. So there was a lot of, I think there's a lot of download for our viewers here, right? I think they will need to watch this episode a couple of times to absorb everything that you've said and everything important. And most listeners would want to know, and something that would affect their lives, changes that they could make, right? So I want to summarize the episode about, how has the budget benefited or changed for, say, a home buyer, an owner, a developer, a common man in general.
So to summarize all of that, let us look at a home buyer. A home buyer is definitely benefited by this budget because his personal income tax rates have been slashed. A home buyer is also happy today because the housing loan interest rate has been slashed. So for a home buyer, there is a lot of disposable income today. He has more money at his disposal because he saves that money by not paying tax. He's going to save money because of lower EMI. And he is today in a position to say that, yes, I have this much of disposable income. So for that home buyer from the middle class or upper middle class, there is disposable income, and he has to take those decisions today, how he wants to make money saved into money deployed and money multiplied. To conclude, I would like to say for home buyers, personal individual taxpayers in the middle class or upper middle class, exclusively for them, please understand that this budget has resulted in money being saved for us, right? And now it is up to you to decide how you would convert that into money being multiplied by deciding how you will deploy that money. So once again, money saved is money earned is the old mantra. Money saved should become money deployed, and then it becomes money multiplied is the new mantra. Coming to your landlords. Landlords are also benefited from this particular budget because now there will be more formal rental agreements. Because earlier people would never enter into rental agreements because they would never want TDS to happen. But today a landlord who is earning 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 per month as rent also will get the entire amount, Mega. There is not going to be any TDS, so that's a big relief for landlords, and they will have the the freedom and the courage to enter into rental agreements without having to subvert any of the legal norms that is needed to give it on rent. And coming to builders per se, there is a huge push from the government of India towards improving infrastructure, towards disbursement of interest-free loans to the states. And you can also see the whole sentiment of the government here is to push the whole real estate sector in whatever way that they can. So I think it's a culmination of a lot of factors. Builders, home buyers, common man, NRIs, all of them should take note of the fact that the government is also incentivizing the people who supply real estate, that is the builders, and it is also incentivizing and giving a lot of benefit to those who demand the real estate, which is your home buyers, middle class and upper middle class. So overall, it is a middle class budget. It is really going to result in a lot of disposable income. Inflation rate also in the country in January 25 was at a low. It was not growing as much as it should have. So I think it's time to make those decisions, Mega, and I hope the listeners are able to take well-considered decisions and take that step of ensuring that they may keep working for money, but they will also take decisions by which money will start working for them.
This is something very, very important. Make the change today. Change your thought process. I know it's instilled in our DNA, but it's time to change the way that we work and how we make the money work for us. Thank you so much, Vineeth. This episode has been, I think, very, very informative, very, very important for our listeners, and something that has... Normally they wouldn't know. Usually people are very confused about these things, right? And I'm glad that you're here at the right time for people to understand what the budget is and what is in it for them.
Most welcome, Mega. And once again, thank you to all your listeners. Thanks to you. My best wishes to Hyderabad Growth and the entire team. May you keep growing.
Yes, I'm looking forward to another maybe 2 million this time. All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.